Hi. What's happening? It's time for coffee. That's what's happening. It's Tuesday. That's what's happening. Cinco de Mayo. That's what's happening. I'm sure there are other things that are happening. But that's what I got right now. And here we go with the show. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, May the 5th. Cinco de Mayo. Revenge of the Sith Day. Apparently that's a thing now. 2020. My name is Jeremy. And this is my first cup of coffee. Revenge of the 5th Day. There we go. See, I missed the pun because I haven't had my coffee yet. And if you're not a Star Wars nerd, you might not get that one. May 4th being May the 4th, Star Wars Day. The 5th is Revenge of the 5th, playing on the word fifth, Sith, the dark elements in the Star Wars universe. Revenge of the 5th. Less established, but if it was up to Star Wars nerds, every day would be some manner of Star Wars Day. I'd planned to watch the new Star Wars on Disney Plus last night and just didn't. I ended up playing video games, so there's some nerdy things. I don't usually play video games, and the desire struck me, and I said, let's follow it. And so I did. And that's where we're at. I hope you had a good Monday. What else did I have on my Monday? I had tater tot nachos for dinner. One of my own inventions. Delicious. Other people will claim the invention of the tater tot nacho. They all come after my first instance. You can go back on Instagram and you can even see that. Find me somebody who made tater tot nachos before me. I don't think you can. What else? What else happened yesterday? You know, if you watch the show regularly, you know from yesterday that I drove to a client's yesterday. I'm there Mondays and Fridays. And we were remarking how it was 2 o'clock and we were both exhausted. That just being out in the world and not giving into fear and not and staying positive. It just takes so much energy right now. It takes more energy than normal. And I think that makes it that much more important. I continue to hide so many people on Facebook who just share these inflammatory articles that, whether or not they're true, they don't make anybody's lives better. They definitely don't make my life better. I don't want to live in an echo chamber. I don't want to be surrounded by news media that pats me on the back for believing what I believe in. And I think for so many people, that's a place of comfort. And I can't do that. So, hit a few more people yesterday. I'm glad Facebook's got the hide for 30 days button, because I don't want to hide these people permanently. I'm hoping that we come out of this, but maybe not. Maybe those people will get hidden permanently at some point. What else happened yesterday? A few conversations with friends, email, work stuff, some episode 500 stuff, just chipping away at it. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. And what's going on today? Working from home. I've got an interview later this afternoon. Cat's getting acupuncture this morning. And I'll probably make nachos tonight. I mean, tacos. I'll probably make tacos. Because I had nachos last night. I've stepped away, as much as I love nachos, I've stepped away from conventional nachos because there's just so many chips. There's so much chip involved. And let's face it, the toppings are the best part. So that's why I tend to do tacos more now. Rainy, gross weather. It's like 35 degrees. What else? I don't think there's anything else to report. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff on my list. So let's see what you all wrote in. Let's see what we got to work from. Remember, if you got something you want me to respond to. Oh, is the 8th installment of Whistlekick Live on Facebook Live. That will be happening at 8 p.m. Eastern. And yes, there's a rebroadcast on YouTube tomorrow night. But the show keeps getting better. Gabe and I are working hard to make sure that this thing just keeps getting better, and it keeps getting better. Everyone seemed to agree that the last one was the best one, and we're going to make tonight's even better. Whew. Every one of those has several hours of conversation and email that goes into it, not to mention the work that goes into it. I've got to prepare for that today based on the materials Gabe produced, so I mean there's a lot of work. Salt in my coffee. Just a little bit. Stacy said, and they are fun. Well, that's the point. We try to make them fun. If it's not fun, who's going to watch? And today we've got a number of quotes that Frank wrote in from Leonardo da Vinci. Somebody who I admire because of the breadth of skill. I absolutely do not have his artistic talent, but his sense of invention and his love of science and his just genuine desire to learn, all of those things. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. She has her own logic, her own laws. She has no effect without cause, nor invention without necessity. Couldn't agree more. We're at an interesting time in society where science has been deemed so authoritative that many people, maybe even most, don't seem to leave space for the failings of science. Because remember, science is an iterative process. Just because science declares something to be true, science is administered by people. People are fallible. People have ego. And I say this because when we combine that with this quote, you can't out-science nature. That's one of my fundamental beliefs. Nature is patient and will take action. Nature is incredibly complex, far more complex than we could ever imagine. If you think about it as if we want to be really nerdy about it, think about it as an equation. How many variables are there in nature? We might as well say an infinite number. So the idea that as human beings, that we can predict what's going to happen. We can't even get weather right. We can't predict the weather. Yeah, we do, but how accurate are we? How often do storms pop up that 24 hours ago we didn't even know about? It's not frequent, but it's often enough. Unintended consequences are all over the place, and I'm not referencing any one thing or group of things, or you take this how you will. But this is one of my core principles in life, is that I cannot out-science nature. Where does nature want me to go? And this came out of my research and understanding and exploration of permaculture, which is a design science often applied to gardening and physical space, forests, etc. But it can be applied to anything. And to sum it up, you work with nature, not against it. If, for example, when I look outside and I look at the row of apple trees, I trim those trees to keep them healthy so they produce more. I don't dig up the earth at the foot of the trees because I want to put something else there. I look at what's naturally growing there and how can I help it along. That kind of stuff. How do you work with nature? If your nature in martial arts is, well, I don't know, I don't want to take it there. I don't know that I can really relate this to martial arts. I can relate it to health. Yeah, I think we'll put a hard period on that one, because any further I go with it, it's easy for people to make jumps with my words. I don't want to do that. Every single person who knew about putting a little bit of salt in your coffee and didn't tell me about it for the last 40 years of my life needs to be slapped in the face. Game-changing coffee. Next quote from Da Vinci. And you know what? I read through these before we started the show. And one of the things that struck me was how these weren't written in English. These were written in Italian, I'm sure, and translated. And yet they're still articulate. They're still eloquent. And I think that says something. I think when you can translate something to other languages and not only do they make sense, but they still hold power, I think there's something fundamental in those words. I am not poor. Poor are those who desire many things. Being grateful for what you have. It's pretty awesome. I read something about one of the founders of Hewlett-Packard, and it's been too long, I don't remember which one it was, whether it was Hewlett or Packard. But even at the height of his wealth, lived in the farmhouse that he bought in his like 20s, or maybe it was even his family's farm. You know, here's this man with, adjusted for today, has billions of dollars, maybe even tens of billions of dollars. I mean, an incredibly wealthy man. And he lived in a simple home because it wasn't about being rich to him. It was about having an impact. And it was about loving what he had instead of focusing on what he didn't. And this is honestly something that I'm trying to shift. This situation, this pandemic that has kept me home has made me appreciate what I have, especially my land outside. On Sunday, when my friend Chris came over, we built a fire pit. Something I'd wanted to do, something very simple. I'd been looking at how I wanted to do it and realized I had a bunch of cinder blocks. So we dug a big square, like a 4-foot square, and we put 8 cinder blocks in it. And I can see it from here. Great place to have a fire. I can see ways that I could cook on it now. Didn't cost me anything. Now, is it the most attractive thing I could put in my backyard? No. But so what? Why go out and spend $150, $200, $700 on a fire pit that's going to do the exact same thing? And honestly, most of the ones that I saw, the kits online people buy, they're less functional. Why bother? There are plenty of people who would look at the life I have and say, this is how you live? Because I live very simply. My food is simple, my home is simple. And yet there are many, many other people in the world who would look at what I have and consider me rich. I would say the majority of the world, population-wise, would consider me and all of you rich because of what we have. It's perspective. As human beings, we tend to want more. We tend to want what we don't have. And what I want, primarily, what I don't have, actually shows up in another DaVinci quote. But I've been spending a lot of time considering what I have and feeling grateful. And that's been really helpful for me. Doesn't mean I'm not charging for more. Doesn't mean that I don't want to grow this company and make an impact on the world and on martial arts. But it doesn't mean that I can't be happy with what I have. Now, there's a difference between happy and satisfied. I'll always want more. I'll always drive for more because I think that's important. I don't want to stand still. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be looking so far down the road that I can't appreciate where I'm at. People reveal themselves completely only when they are thrown out of the customary conditions of their life. Very appropriate for where we are today. How many people have you seen that have lost their stuff? They're going nuts. How many people have you seen being truly kind? Look at the wonderful stories that we've had. People singing from their balconies, and the number of people, whether or not you believe masks are necessary, or forget the politicization. How many people made masks just to make masks, just to try to help, to do what they could? Because what else were they going to do? They invested their time. Some invested their money. They bought fabric and elastic and whatever. They're trying to make the world better. They're trying to help. If you watch any disaster movie, what tends to happen? What kind of characters do you have? There are a few cliches. You get the helpless person. You get the let's take care of everybody person. You get the selfish person. And you get the hero, who is the person who steps up, who is willing to sacrifice themselves, who tries to bring everyone together, right? It's really hard to keep our armor up when things get really crazy. Maintaining that defense takes energy. Being that person takes energy. And I think what we're seeing right now is how many people put in a lot of energy to being someone that maybe they're not quite authentically being. And without that energy reserve, because of the stress of the current environment, they can't maintain that. Just something to keep in mind. When people tell you who they are, believe them. Next, we got two more. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. See, I told you. This would come up. I love to learn. I love learning. When everything that we do at Whistlekick, I did at some point. Now, maybe I didn't do it as well as other people do, but I did it. All the people we have helping with marketing and Facebook and other social media things, I did it. I learned how to do it. I decided whether it was a good use of my time, of my skill, whether it was the most important thing for me to do. And I benefited from learning about that because I'm able to see the entirety of what we do. And if we consider my life, because I've learned more about nutrition and food and cooking and exercise and health and other things than, unfortunately, most people. I wish I was the most ignorant person on the planet about health and nutrition. Not that I lost knowledge, but that everyone else had more. Because I feel I've barely scratched the surface. But the more that we learn, that we can incorporate into our lives, the better our lives become. And so many people are content with the knowledge they have, and even There are people out there that ridicule others for learning more, and that blows my mind. I've never understood that. And maybe that's the definition of being a nerd, is to constantly want to learn. Fine by me. I've spent time over the years with people I went to high school with. Not as many people from college, but high school. And they fall into one of two camps. Their best days are behind them, and unfortunately that's the majority. And their best days are yet to come. And those are the people I want to spend time with. What are you excited about? What are you working towards? What gets you up in the morning? And I find so many people that lay their happiness on a partner or on a child or on a job. Their purpose is external. And I guess all of our purposes are external, but maybe I'm doing a poor job explaining this. We get one life, and I'm going to spend as much time as I can learning and experiencing and enjoying. And when I finally kick over, I will regret not having more time, not having learned more, not having been able to experience more, even though I'll know that I've done more of those things than 99% of people. Knowledge is the one thing people can't take from you. And I think it's the best investment. Let's play a hypothetical. Let's say this pandemic right now wiped me out. Financially, I lost my home and everything. And I had to declare bankruptcy, and hopefully I'd be reset to zero, but maybe even less than zero. Maybe they took everything and I still had debt. I have enough skills because of the things that I know how to do that I can get a job anywhere. I could go get an entry-level marketing job for, I don't know, 30 grand and rent a room somewhere and consult on the side and ride my bike to work, and in a year have another business off the ground. I don't live in fear of that because it wouldn't take me very long. Why? Because I've learned things. A very smart man that I look up to once said, or I have heard him say, don't take a job because of what it'll pay you. Take a job because of what it will teach you. The things that I'm doing now with whistlekick and with my consulting on the side, it is only because of the vast array of things that I have done. I'm able to connect dots. When I sit down with a potential marketing client, I'm able to talk about whatever their business is, whether it's a service or a product or a restaurant. I understand the economics behind it because I've worked in all these industries. I've learned a lot from the jobs that I've done. Don't stop learning, martial arts or otherwise. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. And our last quote for the day. The average human looks without seeing, listens without hearing, touches without feeling, eats without tasting, moves without physical awareness, inhales without awareness of odor or fragrance, and talks without thinking. To sum that up, most of us aren't present. We're not aware of what's going on around us. Here's a great example. How many people eat and they take the fork and they've got the next mouthful of food before they're even halfway done chewing? How are they enjoying that food? We've been conditioned and embraced this idea that what's coming is more important than what's here. And I think we can relate this back to the earlier quote about being satisfied, being happy. What was it about? Where did it say? It was the one about, I am not poor. Poor are those who desire many things. Enjoy the moment. There's always something to enjoy. Yeah, there's always something you could be upset about, but don't dwell on that. Doesn't mean you ignore it. But sometimes you get to put it down. Sometimes you have to put it down. There are 10,001 things that stress me out day to day. I spend a lot of time working on not focusing on them because most of them I can't control. You do the best you can with what you have, where you're at. All right, everybody. That's the show. Remember, if you're new, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do the show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern here on YouTube. And if you want to leave me a question or a comment to respond to, and I hope that you will, drop it below and I'll address it tomorrow. If you are around tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, check us out on Facebook. Go to Whistlekick, take a look at the events. You will see the Martial Arts Radio Live event, and you can sign up to be notified to get that Facebook notification when we go live. What else? If you want to support the show, you make a purchase at whistlekick.com. Use the code FIRSTCUP15, or you can support the Patreon. Patreon.com/whistlekick. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Peace.